Hello there everyone, and welcome back to a new JackalMan stream. It's been quite a while, and I realised as I turned the thing on that I must have turned the volume up. Okay, I thought the game sounded quite loud. I think that might just be, the introduction music to the Chaotix. There's a custom piece of music. Maybe it's not recognised by this soundtrack. But anyway, welcome back to another stream. Unfortunately, the YouTube chat is broken at the moment. For some reason, it isn't demonstrating properly. It just keeps asking me to sign in. I can't sign in, it's on OBS. How am I supposed to sign in onto a Pixar, effectively? It's not working. I'll see whether I can fix it for next time, but it is what it is. Anyway, the plan today is to play as 3 Chaotix characters. The first 3, so that's SBO, Mighty, and Charmy. And then once we've done that, that'll probably take... I'll be trimming down how long I play each of them, maybe an hour, probably, between all of them. After that, we're going to go into Phantasy Star II, the current playthrough, and we're going to do a bit of grinding before the next episode, because frankly, I'm bored out of my mind just sitting there doing the same basic things over and over again, so it's good to have someone to talk to while doing it. But anyway, first character, SBO. Technically already played as this guy before on this, what's it called? Introduction or replay of each of these characters. The Chaotix mod really started with a version of SBO, an individual character, who then, a couple of years later, ended up being brought out into a complete mod. And that's, of course, the Chaotix that we see today. I can't fully remember what that SBO was like. I'm sure I'll, it'll come back to me as I go and read through my script and have a look at it. But from what I can remember, he wasn't the best. He was a pretty middle-of-the-road character. Like, fun, but a bit, neither here nor there. It wasn't fantastic. It was just kind of alright. And this guy, I think, is slightly better. Still not amazing, not wonderful, but better. He's a little bit faster, smoother, I suppose. He's pretty good at running up walls. Definitely an explorer in the vein of Knuckles and that sort of character. Lots of running up walls. He still has the ability to run along the ceiling, although I remember it being less smooth than it is here, so that's another, maybe an improvement, if it is indeed better than it was in that mod, and I'm not just misremembering. I will say that we do seem to be kind of jumping between abilities quite quickly, because they're all mapped to the jump button, so it's a bit awkward trying to do your, things called like the saddle jump or something. Trying to do that while next to a wall, it gets a bit messy. But generally strong. So yeah, we'll do SBO. We'll do an incomplete playthrough in total, with all 3 characters participating a little bit. So we'll do SBO, maybe up until Deep Sea. Do Mighty in Castle Eggman and Arid Canyon, and then Charmy. And then I don't know whether we'll do the final bosses. I find them kind of tedious. And through that, hopefully, taking time to make sure we're checking their super forms and stuff, we should hopefully get a good look at what each of the... Oh, missed the button. Get a good look at what all the characters are like. I actually, after downloading Sonic and the Gunslinger, the last mod that I covered, all of my 100% save file were gone. I had to go and replace it. I found a new one on the on Game Banana, so I still got it all back. But for a while, I was like, "Oh no, crap! I've lost all of my lost all of that work, all of the emblems, all of the extra levels. That's going to be annoying when we get back into making videos and streams." Luckily, not too bad. It was a pretty easy fix. Just had to go on. Oh, still really need to get around to downloading that jump latency mod. But yeah, it was just a case of going on to Game Banana and getting a new version of the mod, or getting a new version of the 100% save file. So I've technically got completed save files with every member of the vanilla cast, and then everything in the game. You know, really high time trial scores, all of that sort of thing. But yeah, not too much happened since the last stream. I think we're on, if I remember correctly, I've set up an Excel file that's listed all of the characters and such that I've tested thus far in this character replay system. I believe I've done 75 thus far out of 123. So there's 123 characters we need to get around to doing eventually. And so far 75 of them have been covered. Let's just quickly check. He does have a super form. Okay, he does. I mean, it's not particularly useful at this, you know, this late into the stage, but it's just good to check that he actually does have one. We're not just running around not using it. But yeah, 75 characters thus far. I've mostly been doing some of the gag characters, just because they're ones you don't really need to be doing on stream, you know? You don't really have to justify doing that off camera, whereas big names like the Chaotix, like Steph characters, probably will be on stream, because you can't really get away with not having them. Like making a bunch of streams recovering characters like what, Pepper, like really not great mods. Like there was just a tackle, like just a straight up tackle was one of the characters we've covered on these streams. So it wouldn't do to play as all of these guys and then just leave out the Chaotix and Steph characters and stuff. So I haven't covered any of them individually yet. Let's go down here actually, so we can climb up the wall, get a nice shortcut. And we go super. You know, why not? Run up the wall. Don't know what the super transformation entails. I imagine it's probably, among other things, going to be maybe infinite running up a wall so he doesn't get tired as much. Longer range on the Shadow jump, maybe? No, that seems to be pretty much the same. It might unfortunately be a case that SBO is one of those characters who's quite good, with the exception of the fact that their super forms pretty obvious, you know. It's not doing much interesting for the character, which is like fair, I guess. You know, like SBO doesn't really have. In fact, I don't think he's ever had a super form, so there's not much to pull from. But like, I get the feeling he's probably one of those characters that you don't really get much more than faster speed, that sort of thing. Alright, get you out of the way. I haven't played much vanilla SRB2 outside of these rankings thus far, or recently. Not rankings, these replays recently. I've tried out the Tailwind mod. If you watched the Sonic and the Gunslinger video all the way to the end, you know that I said that the next mod was going to be Tailwinds, the other mod created by the same creator, Metal Harbor. That's probably not happening anymore. I've played through a little bit of Tailwinds so far, and it is fun. Or, well, it's interesting, it's unique, it's nothing like anything else in SRB2, much like Sonic and the Gunslinger tried to be, and maybe didn't go quite far enough with. Problem is that it doesn't work all that well on controllers, and seeing as I only play on controllers, not great. Also, funnily enough, it's a mod that really could have done with being its own batch file, so that it resets your controls, so that if I decided to just go in and play it on on keyboard and mouse, that would all be working as the game expects you to. But because I've had to go and reset all of that to get the controller to work, it means that it's a nightmare to do anything on keyboard and mouse either. So it's generally not too bad, but there's a couple of stages that require a lot of precision, They kind of expect you to go into first person, and that's just not something you can really do on controller. I've never been able to get first person looking up and down working properly on the controller on SRB2, and that's very important for that mod. So my progress has been limited on it. I'm not sure whether I'll even be able to complete it, much less say, you know, here you go, here's my fair and detached review. If I'm sitting there and saying that I can't really, you know, play a significant portion of it. I will say that SBO, if there is one problem, is that he maybe feels a bit too overpowered. He can do a lot. The fact that you basically cool down your saddle jump and your wall climb doing basically anything. You can just infinitely combo the two of them together, and that resets each other. You can get a lot of height. I suppose the idea is, because he's an explorer, he should have infinite height, because, you know, like Knuckles, you're not complaining that he can't climb infinitely. But the fact that they're separate abilities, it doesn't feel quite as natural for you to be able to do it infinitely as it does when, say, Knuckles can do it infinitely, you know? Infinitely climb is what I mean. Like, it doesn't feel bad, it just feels a bit strange to have a ability that you actually do have to try and use, and yet it still allows you to use it infinitely. That's generally not something many mods do. Over this guy. But yeah, I will say he feels smooth. I might have to do off camera, I might have to go return to that OG SBO just a little bit. Just to remind myself of what he was like, to, you know, compare them. But I do think that this guy probably better. Actually, I don't think this one's probably better. I think he's definitely better. I think I was a little bit more skewed on that in my old SBO review, or my review of this guy. I think I was a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure whether he's better, but no, definitely. From the like half-remembered bit to the last time I played the OG SBO, yeah, this guy feels better. I think it is reused sprites, but again, I think the guy who did the OG SBO ended up, you know, being a big part of Team Combi Rings, who made the Chaotix mod, so I don't think anyone will complain about that. They were, you know, great sprites originally, they're still great sprites here. And they match everyone else, so is what it is. Right, one more stage with this guy, we'll get rid of this boss, and then we'll move on to Mighty, who is probably one of my most controversial reviews even to this day. I really did not like Mighty, and people really did not like the fact that I did not like Mighty, so I'll see whether that still remains the case, whether I still dislike him. I felt that I justified why I did not like him quite well, but clearly others did not agree with that assessment. I'm doing crap here, but it's fine. It's nearly over anyway. Nice idle animation. I do also like the fact that he is quite categorically purple. He stays to be in purple most of the time. I think the OG one just was changing all of the time, if I remember correctly. Oh, I'm not counting this towards any of the like ranking the Chaotix characters, but it is fun. There are a couple of mods that are somewhat, in this 5k ranking, is going to be somewhat undersold on account of the fact that they have a load of elements outside of the characters that are not really demonstrating as part of that ranking. Silverhorn comes to mind, but the Chaotix is another one. I think there's a couple of bits to the presentation that aren't really going to be accounted for in the ranking. But yeah, from one explorer, I think Mighty similarly explorer. I'm sorry, but this look at this running animation. People were saying that, were like going on at me for saying that it looks goofy, but like it does. You look like the one pill character that I can't quite remember the name of from Sonic. since Sega All-Stars Racing. Like, you look ridiculous. But yeah, the big thing that I remember complaining about is the fact that your wall jump's just not the most intuitive. Like, you don't automatically grip onto walls, which, you know, no other character really does. So that would be fine for most other characters, but with Mighty, the problem is that if you come over here, we press R2 in the air, you do a ground pound. So the fact of the matter is when you're trying to grip onto a wall, you're tapping R2, and you always have to go and, like, generally, if you want to keep up any time, you want to be doing that slightly before you hit the wall. That's like, you know, common sense for most other characters to kind of maintain your speed and all the rest of that. But with Mighty, if you do that, you're just plummeting to your, oftentimes to your death, you know, because you're doing it over a bombless pit or whatever. So that's the big thing that I really didn't like. I'm not a huge fan. Come on. SRB2 camera strikes again. But yeah, that's most of his moveset, to be honest. It's just the wall jumping and the ground pound. They clearly took it from Mania, for better or for worse. That's the other problem in situations like that. You can't really do the ground pound either, because now you're doing it too near the wall. I think it's one of those situations where they could probably have put the ground pound onto L2, and I think that probably would have fixed all of the problems. Like, you just have to go and stick the super transformation onto something else, but I think it would fix the problems relating to the ground pound and the wall climbing getting in each other's way, because all of a sudden you would be using two separate commands for them, so they're not overlapping in the way they currently are. I think that would, at least in my eyes, that would fix a lot of the problems. What's his idle animation? No, I'm shrugging. I think that's one of Sonic's old ones. I mean, obviously Mighty is kind of a Sonic rip-off. That's not the term I'm thinking of. Sonic proxy. That's the term. Like, a lot of fan media, and you know, specifically fan media, because Mighty doesn't really actually appear that much in the franchise proper. But in a lot of fan media, a lot of people treat Mighty as just another Sonic. So I'm not that surprised that he's ripping off Sonic's taunts and stuff in his idle animations. That's, I would say, pretty in character, but to be honest, Mighty doesn't have that much of a character on account of the fact he hasn't really appeared all that much. He doesn't have that much of a history for which to gather any sort of consistent character traits, I should say. Right, let's try wall climbing here. Like, sometimes it works well. I do think that they got the wall climb arc correct. The fact that you need to put a little more effort into it, and the fact that it's the main part of his moveset, I do think it does work. That it's quite a bit higher than it usually is with most wall climbs and wall jumping, I should say, from the wall climb. So you go much higher with your wall climb than most characters do, and I think that works well for him. It's just everything else about the wall climb that I'm not a huge fan of. Oh, messed that up, but wonders of the very powerful wall jump. We can make our own launch over there anyway, it's fine. One thing I haven't shown off yet is that if you hold L2 as you do your ground pound, you will drop dash. Let's see. Like so. It's not hugely powerful. It's not like the strongest ground pound, strongest drop dash out there, but it is pretty good. But like cases like this, where it's like, come on, I just want to grip onto the wall. I don't want to ground pound. Like, come on. Like, again, you can get around it just by waiting to kind of slide against the wall before you do the ground pound, but that's not something you do particularly often in SRB2, because, you know, you're wasting time doing that. You're wasting those precious few seconds. So he just kind of goes against your typical method of playing SRB2, and I don't think the ground pound is special enough to really justify doing that. It's not a hugely unique ground pound, it's just one that feels quite good to use, and yeah. You end up in situations like this where it's just like, I want to progress, I don't want to get stuck against the walls, and every time I do actually make some progress, I start ground pounding and going straight to the ground. It's just a bit of a nightmare to use, and I don't think he justifies it. He doesn't do enough to be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. You know, I'll take the good with the bad, but he just doesn't have enough good to justify the bad. Up we go. Ooh, okay. Yeah. Really need to practice with these launchers more often. You generally don't need to bother because I play modded almost exclusively. Almost every modded character has some way to just fix yourself if you mess up the launchers, but Mighty doesn't have enough movement to really get away with that. Or his movement is very much not the sort. Right, yeah, I was about to say Mighty is immune, or partially immune to spikes. I think it might be a case, yeah, we need to jump into them to see that in action. He's not passively immune to them, he's only immune in the air. But yeah, he can bounce off of spikes, so, you know, the spike orbs, I believe, maybe the thorns, I'm not sure. You know, he can definitely do basic spikes. Very soon the ground pound also destroys spikes, so there's one thing he's good for, it's spike removal. If you're in perhaps a multiplayer server and you're trying to clear a path for your friends and there's a lot of spikes, well, Mighty's quite good at dealing with that. Oh, just about squeezed through the egg pawns there. And I think he's more or less done. There we are. Easy. We'll do our Canyon with him and then we'll move on to Charmy. And that will be our 3 characters. We'll do grinding in Phantasy Star II. Just because, again, I'm bored out of my mind playing that by myself. I end up sticking on podcasts. It's the first game that I've really needed second screen entertainment for. I've never been one to do second screen entertainment outside of like music. This is the kind of thing I mean. I've never been one for second screen entertainment, like sticking on a YouTube video while you work or whatever. I think it's just distracting. But Phantasy Star II is so boring when you're grinding. There's just like, okay, I need something. I need a podcast. I need a video to watch in the background. Just because it's like, oh, it's dull, and it's so long as well. Like, you know, obviously a lot of JRPGs expect you to be grinding. It's something that they've started to phase out somewhat in more modern JRPGs, but it's still people would argue an intrinsic part of the genre. But Phantasy Star II takes it to another level. It's intolerably long and tedious. And oh, crap. I don't think we're making our way back out of this. I think we might have to hope for the best on this route down here. Is this the Knuckles or is it the Metal Sonic? It doesn't matter because we just ended up back at the start of the level. Fantastic. Wonderful. I don't know whether the valley is close enough to really let us wall jump up it, and even if it was, you can see that I don't really trust Mighty to let me do that anyway. That would have been embarrassing. Embarrassing way to go. Just do it by there. Right, there we are. Super transformation should be enough to fix things. Okay, not this way. We'll continue further up the canyon. We go over here. But yeah, the other problem is if you've played enough SRB2, you know for a fact that anyone who can climb walls gets a bit iffy as soon as a curve appears in that wall. So the fact that Mighty is already a bit iffy when it comes to attaching to walls with the ground pound detached and considered, he gets pretty bad in those situations. Alright, over here, I think that we probably jump off the wall here. And assuming it doesn't just launch us right back to the start of the area. Yeah, okay. It's not quite the way I planned to do it. I thought I might be able to just get straight up here, but it works in the end. If it works, it works. But yeah, I think maybe the disconnect is because people weren't rushing with him as much as I was. And I do. For characters. Like, I'm not a speedrunner, but I do like to just push forward and try and beat levels very quickly. And the fact that you need to have that tiny little pause with most stuff when playing as Mighty, it makes that a bit more tedious and annoying to do. But I will say that I am happy that finally we have someone who can deal with the green snappers properly. Because he's immune to the spikes that they toss around them. We'll go the basic path, see what's over here. Down here, just jump over all of that. And straight onto there. Spin. Okay. Spin dash. Jump. Okay, no, don't jump off, I guess. I want to jump. Why aren't you letting me jump? There, right, spring. That's what we were looking for. Aaron the Grand says, hello there. Says, well, sup. Hello there, Aaron the Grand. Again, sorry for the chat being broken. It did it the last time I tried to stream. I was late to it. I didn't end up doing it. I'm not sure what's causing the problem. YouTube has a nasty habit of logging me out of stuff at the moment. Or not logging me out of stuff, but whenever I want to, like, do something like this pop-up chat, whenever I'm listening to something on a different account or whatever, it's like, do you want to sign in? No, not really. I should already be signed in. Why are you signing me out randomly on everything? It's infuriating. It's wasting so much time. Oh, damn it. Purple Bacon 92nd also says hi. Hello there, Purple Bacon. There we are. Into the minecart. This time not getting damaged by a vulture. I can't remember the name of the enemy. Bass? I think that's it. A bass right as we go through the minecart doors. Right. There we are. Let's not try and die as soon as we get down here this time. Wonderful. Oh, you! This is why you need to use that jump latency mod, guys. So that stuff like that doesn't happen. Mess that one up. I don't think we're going this route anymore. I don't know whether we're just about to die. Right, climb up this way. it does feel a little bit like the direction it sends you when you're jumping off is kind of arbitrary. But again, maybe that's just... Knew that was going to happen. It always happens if you try and go for the thing. But whatever. We're good. We continue on anyway. Mostly unscathed. One thing I will say about the Chaotix, I do like the fact that all of the super transformations have different poses. A lot of characters, even ones that aren't, you know, using a base of whatever SRB2 Characters sprites, a lot of them still end up using very similar poses. I do like the fact that the Chaotix is a bit more varied with their choices, you know. Mighty and SB already have very different super transformation sprites. I'm sure that will continue as we are about to move on to Charmy. Just this one last minecart section to go. I've a couple of people on my video about the ranking SRB2 zones have brought up, you know, their complaints about this or that automated section, like the minecart section here, the water slide to the end of Deep Sea Act 2. It's made me realise just how many levels in this game end with you just sitting there while something happens around you. Like the, you know, end of Techno Hill, slightly less extreme example than some of the others, but end of Techno Hill Act 2, you just sit on a bunch of moving platforms as they take you up to the final corridor. I mean, Deep Sea Act 2, you've got that long water slide section. Castle Eggman Act 2, you've got that section with the launcher as well. That's a bit different. That's a slightly more involved, but even so, similar thing. Arid Canyon Act 2, you've got that long minecart section. Red Volcano's different, but then it doesn't have an Act 2, so maybe when the Act 2 does appear, we're going to have that long and tedious automated section that people will complain about. Egg Rock Act 2, that one's slightly, you know, that one's not as bad. There's a general thing there with a lot of just, you know, vents and stuff, but that's not really localized to Act 2, and certainly not the end of it. That's probably one of the better sections to cap off an Act 2. Oh, you... Oh, drat. Didn't realise I only have one life. Awkward. Wasn't paying attention. It's always really annoying when Fang does something like that. Like he messes up one of his jumps, so he drops a bomb right in front of your face when you're jumping at him. Always a particularly annoying way to go out. Or when something like that happens. Is it gonna happen again? No, there we go. Caught him this time. Can't make... You are an annoying bastard, Fang. I hope you know that. Before you can throw out a bomb or shoot me or whatever, just gonna get you out of here. Rare footage of JackalMan dying. I promise you that that is not that rare. It's there's quite a lot of footage of me dying out there. I am not an expert at this game, despite all the years I've spent on it. I have not, frankly, bothered with trying to get good, if that makes sense. Like, I think that I'm a fairly casual SRB2 player, despite everything. I mean, I know a couple of modders have brought that up when sending me stuff, that they actually like sending me stuff because I'm not that good at the game. It was Frostykin brought that up. It was like, yeah, it's good that you're not that great at the game, because it gives me a different point of view to everyone else on the mod team. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I get what you're saying, and it's like, I'm not that mad about it, but that's certainly a way to be like, yeah, there we are. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we send you the mod because you're not that good. Okay. Well, alright then. I guess. Anyway, didn't really need to bother with the continuing because we're dropping Mighty now anyway. To go and see how Charmy fares. Mighty, will say that this playthrough, just given that extra little second when you get to a wall to let him grip onto it properly, to make sure that you're not gonna ground pound. It does fix the problems, but I don't feel like I should have to do that. It's not something I have to do with any other character, and it doesn't feel great with him anyway. I imagine it can be quite annoying during speedruns when you want to tap right as you get up against the wall and it doesn't work. But yeah, not as bad as I remember him being. I probably would have given him like a D rank out of memory, but now probably a high C rank, low B rank. So quite a jump. The polish saves him if nothing else. Right, Charmy. He is a flyer, as you might have guessed. Crap. His main thing is that he is small and he is agile. He's quite fragile as well. He has an entire passive trait that's just the fact that he takes more knockback from everything than other characters do. A very small hitbox as well, of course, because he is ultimately just a bee. His two abilities, which I will show you. How would you rank Mighty in a scale of 0 to 10 then? 5 or 6, I guess. I should say that if you ever ask me to rank something on a numerical basis, I've gone very harsh on that front over the years. So, like, yeah, don't expect characters to get a particularly great grade. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, well, I didn't think it was that good, 7 out of 10. I'm like, no, if it's bad, I'm giving it a very low score. If it's mediocre, I'm giving them a 5 out of 10. Or 6 out of 10 at best. Knew that was going to happen. Fantastic. Let's just get on here, grab a ring, move on. Yeah, I will say that I remember Charmy being one of the characters in the Chaotix that I liked quite a bit. Probably more so than other characters. I can't remember the... Oh, I was nowhere near you. Come on. I can't remember the ultimate, like, final listing I gave each character, so I don't remember the order I ranked them. But I will say probably so far, Mighty is the worst, SBO is the best, Charmy second best. But he is quite fun, so I could see that changing between SBO and Charmy at the very least. I don't see Mighty, even with my newfound respect for him, going up that much. There we are. Quick one. It's going to be interesting to see what Red Volcano Act 2 adds to the game. The one thing I will say is interesting when you play as a really short character like Charmy is you realise that the... this is other ability, by the way. You can do like a ground pound with his stinger. It's a bit awkward to use, but when you get it. I will say it'll be interesting after all of these years to finally get Red Volcano Act 2. Like, very, very, very delayed map. It's kind of ridiculous that it took this long, frankly, but, you know, development takes time. It's not exactly linear, as people would like you to believe. Certainly not as linear as they would like you to think. So I imagine it's probably just gone started and cancelled and reset dozens and dozens of times over the years. But it'll be interesting to finally see them just go like, screw it, here we are. Here's what we're going with. Here's the direction. Unless they go and change it in the, you know, like 2.4, which is a thing they're not exactly against doing. Sounds like they've done that a couple of times where they've gone and made a new level. And then just in the very next update gone and changed it completely. Alright, Super Transformation. I will say they're quite boring, if nothing else. They're, in terms of colour schemes and stuff, they're going for that very classic Sonic game look where everyone other than Sonic is just sparkly. It's like, I mean, I guess it's accurate, but it's also really boring, you know? Like, it's not super fun when everyone in their super form just turns gold or yellowy. But even more boring when everyone's just the same. Like, just sparkly. The same colour, but, like, especially in SRB2 where it's a pretty ugly effect a lot of the time. It's just like, it's boring. Get the big jump from that. I think we should stink there. Yep. And we're going to just run to the goalpost. It is quite fun when you get the hang of it. And I don't have to do like a little tiny awkward pause whenever I'm doing stuff like I did with Mighty. So that's a bonus as well. Right, through here. Into space. A little bit more awkward than I meant it to be, but got through in the end. Survived that, surprisingly. Yeah, unfortunately the Stinger hitbox is quite slim. So you do have to be quite careful, accurate when you're aiming it, because he's not going to do that well at hitting it. I do think he could do with a very slight magnet effect, like if you guys remember Ice's Supersonic, he had a very slight magnet effect because of how fast he was. With Charmy, he's so like short that he's going underneath a lot of rings, so I think you could do with a very slight magnet effect just to avoid that. Just like, especially when you go in super form and you need to maintain your rings, it's like, really? That's how I'm going to miss out on them? Because I'm just too short. There we are. Right. Grab that. Like the upwards dash, the Stinger is based on the direction you're holding when you use it. So either if you're not holding any direction, it just goes straight down. If you're holding a direction, it goes forward. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to get the super form as we go into the final platforming gauntlet, it looks like. Hopefully we can at least get through the genuine dangerous stuff. And just get to this room. Luckily, Charmy isn't one who is going to need the super form to get to the end of this section without having to do the platforming, because we can just do that. I know we technically got a little bit of a super form boost at the start, but I reckon probably could have done that even without it. Right, head on through. Just kind of got to go for it there, you know. Right, I'm not going to bother fighting Metal Sonic or JackalMan in this one, because it's just like, it's tedious, it's boring. I've done it a dozen times beforehand. I'm just going to get each character to go through the Black Core Act 1 laps, and then we're going to get each of them to do one of the special bonus stages, just to see how they fare on each of those. So do the one most appropriate for them. So we'll do Charmy with Black Core Act 1, and then he'll probably, you know, Aerial Garden we'll do with Charmy. Like, that's obviously the one that suits him best. SBO will do Black Core Act 1, and then probably Forest Fortress, I think, best suits him. Like, if I'm thinking, where's a ninja going to be? I'm thinking Forest Fortress out of all of them. Fortunately, I thought that this, like, Stinger DAS destroyed spikes, but seems it does not. So we progress forward like this. Right, around the corner. It is a little bit annoying that you get that little pause when you attach this thing, but it feels less egregious than with a lot of characters. Like Knuckles, it feels a bit tedious. Mighty felt a bit tedious having to do it, but the fact that you are a bee, you know, you need to get your stinger out to the ground, there's a little bit of a justification for it that I feel makes it a little bit less annoying than some other characters. But there we are. There is Black Core. He did that quite easily. He is a pretty strong character, I will say that much. Right, secret levels. Where is it? Aerial Guard and Charmy Bee. I mean, if nothing else, you've got Bumbleballs and Hive Elementals all throughout the level. So it's already got the bee theme sorted. Look at that. Glorious. Looks like he is light enough to run over water if you're quick. I don't know whether that's part of the fragile passive trait he has or not. I apologise for the bitrate on this section. I find these textures are terrible on a YouTube video. Charmy is really what we expect from a bee character. I don't think there's anything from the comics they could put in his moveset. You could do the fact that he got brain damage and that's why he acts like he does. I'm not sure how you'd translate that to a game mechanic, but if you want to go and stick something in from the comics, that's probably Charmy's most famous comic adventure. That time he got brain damage and ended up regressing from a 16-year-old to a 6-year-old. That's the decision they made on why he's suddenly dropped 6 years in age. You know, because obviously he used to be 16 in the Chaotix, and now he's 6. So, like, how could we possibly justify that? Could we just, like, ignore the change? Nope. There has to be a reason for it. We'll make him brain damaged. It's like, oh, that's certainly a choice to make regarding one of your characters. I mean, it's either that or they could go and include the fact the time his friend died of an LSD overdose. That's another thing that happened in the comics, because Archie was weird and no one really ever told anyone no until the Super Genesis wave came in and reset it all. And then it got really boring. Or more boring. It was still a pretty good comic book. It's just, you know, when you've got characters overdosing on LSD in a Sonic graphic novel, and, you know, characters going and getting brain damage to justify why they're suddenly so much younger, having a normal comic book that you would expect the Sonic characters to be a part of. It's something of a whiplash, you know. It's quite the change. This section always annoys me when it comes to jump latency, but with Charmy we don't have to worry because we just go over it anyway. This way, and done. Yep, Charmy, strong character. I like him quite a lot. Maybe even more than SBO. I think maybe, looking at it, SBO number 2, Charmy number 1 so far. We'll now do, where was it? Forest Fortress, SBO. And then I don't know what we'll do with Mighty. Haunted Heights, I guess. Aerial Garden in 3 minutes. That's not too bad. I mean, that'd be fairly impressive with a vanilla character, I feel, but with the modded character, that's not great. But yeah, you can see how even SBO is a bit all over the place when it comes to attaching to a wall. So when you gotta have Mighty there, and he's ground pounding if you get it wrong. That's part of why he doesn't feel great. Oh, drat. Wonderful. Let's just go this way, rather than go over there. Oh my... Bite my fist. Broken factorial is a fantastic way to describe chat. I would never use such disparaging terms to describe you guys. It's just the fact that YouTube just hates everyone. I don't know at what point every company realized the best way to make money was to make every single system in the world work infinitely worse than it did, you know, half a decade earlier. But that's the world we live in now. That's what we have. I don't know why it's such a thing with tech companies especially. Like, how does signing me out of everything I ever log into help you sell more adverts? But whatever, man, I guess. I guess maybe the idea is, like, YouTube Premium people now have to deal with ads or something. Someone somewhere had to make a decision and justify it. It'd be interesting what they said. Right, dodge the spike balls this time rather than run into them again. Be quick on that one. Grab the speed sneakers. Grab the rings while we're here. And run over here. First up here, and then we should be good. Yes. Pretty easy. Yeah, SBO's fun. I think he's got more interesting gimmicks than Sami, but you just don't get many opportunities to use them. Like, ceiling climbing's fun, but like, you're not ceiling climbing that often in SRB2. Like, you've got to have the right setup in the level for that to happen. It's not something you can just use anywhere, so it doesn't come up that often, so yeah. Mighty, on the other hand, moveset should be a lot more universal. It's just, again, the fact it doesn't work all that well in a lot of situations. Go to the left. I don't play Haunted Heights enough to have like a complete map in my mind. But I think this way is probably better for him. My gut says as much. I hate these checker floor rooms, but it is what it is. The rhythm is relaxed enough that you can probably get through even with pretty poor rhythm, like myself. Right, okay, we've got the Cackle Lantern flailing around, so we don't want to delay getting through here. Go this way. I think this is the Amy route, if I remember correctly, so we'll see how well this goes. I'm fairly sure Mighty can break spikes, so that's fine. Just let me get up here. Just want to get up. There we are. God. Am I missing something? Like, are they programmed like springs so that Amy can power them up or something? Why are they so weak? Yeah, you are seeing a lot of the problems I have with Mighty here. Oh my god. Wonderful. Fantastic. Okay, we are leaving the Amy route because this is not working. Okay, we can leave the Amy route, thank God. That would have been awkward. We're just going to go the normal route. I forgot that Mighty can, you know, just spin to get underneath the door. It's not one of those characters who would be stuck there. Can we just ground pound to get down here immediately? No. No, we can't. We can probably, however. No, never mind. I don't think the two walls are climbable. What about the one at the back? Can we climb that? No. Okay, never mind. We can't do any cheating. We have to play the level legitimately. Ugh. Wonderful. There we are. Actually doing what I wanted it to. Finally. I don't remember these guys being as annoying as they are. I don't remember their spirit plumes being as large as they are, but okay, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this. Right, okay. Rising and falling platform, typical. How do I get back up if I fall down? Yeah, I just find that Mighty, if something goes wrong with him, you're just stuck there for way longer than you should be. Because of how his wall climb is. You're just not going anywhere. Oh, and stuff like that as well. If you just hold jump for a tiny bit too long and it's like, okay, so you want to grip onto a wall. No, I don't. I just want to jump. Press the jump button, you got a little too eager with it. Ah. Right, it's up here. Yep. Goodness. I think we're nearly at the end. Oh, another checkerboard pan first. Oh, just about got the bit in shadow. Alright, nearly there. It's been a while since I've played Haunted Heights with a character who actually needs to worry about all of those conveyor belts instead of just flying over. But yeah, longer than it should have took, but it was done in the end. Right, there we are. Okay, definitely Charmy number 1, SBO number 2, Mighty number 3. He's dropped back down in my estimations again. Level 5. 5 out of 10 with him. Definitely a C rank. He plays well, but I just personally don't like him enough. With that, we're going to take a quick pause, just 1 second, while I go and get Phantasy Star II set up. It'll be just a moment. I would quickly, while here, I will just show off my Blender progress. In the last stream I said I was going to start doing Blender as part of these streams. I don't have the time for it at the moment, so we're not going to worry about it today. But I'd like to just quickly show off my attempt at a character. It's not great, don't be expecting wonderful things. Never mind, the thing is broken. Is it this one? There we go, that's the one that works properly. I pressed the wrong display. But yeah, this is maybe a week of work on and off. This isn't like a solid week, of course. But learned a couple of things about texturing. I think the body work went quite well. And I am quite proud of this piece of armor in the end. Even if the texturing style that I've been told that I try to copy doesn't show it off the best. but I do like it. If you go and look up a picture of Rolf, I don't have it, you know, like one just set up ready. But if you go look for one, it's nowhere near close. It looks nothing like him. The hair is bad. He doesn't have his band around his head. But the armor's there, the uniform's there. For a first real model, not copying off of the tutorials exactly. Just kind of doing it, like half remembering the tutorials. I think it's pretty solid. Ignore that guy, nothing to do with him. I just took him so they had like a kind of a model to sort of follow. I'm also proud of the shoes. I think they worked quite well. Despite the fact that they're very simple, I think they ended up looking quite good. Rolf just doesn't have a particularly, you know, exciting form. It's also good because it means I gotta cut out the modeling his feet bit, which if they ended up anything like trying to model the hands, not great. To be fair, I didn't put that much effort into modeling the hands for this one. I did it very quickly. The tutorial that I follow has like a full setup where you go and make the hand separately and then attach it to your wider character model at a later point. I didn't do that. I just made it directly, or I made the palm, and then I just modeled the fingers directly onto them. So like extruding from a set of circles here, set of loops, I should say, using proper terminology. You know, set of loops here, and that's all I did. Whereas if you want to go and make decent hands, you probably want to go make the palm separately, then the fingers and the thumb, and attach them individually before attaching them to the model. But the wrist looks good. I think the arms look alright. I find that the arms are something that I've struggled with in the past. The soldiers, can't speak properly. Shoulders, I think, look pretty good. Ignore the eyes, ignore the fact that they kind of look like, if you've ever seen a painted Egyptian sculpture, ignore the fact that they look like that. I don't know what went on there. I'm also not, the hair is quite bad. I messed up big time on following that tutorial. Again, half remembering it. There's a lot of overlapping vertices, which there really shouldn't be. They're probably not helping. The tutorial I was following probably isn't really designed for the sort of hair strands that this character is designed for. And the heads are also a bit mixed up because I did the face from memory, but then I had to go and follow a tutorial for the back of the head because I hadn't done that before in this sort of style. So there was quite a bit of difference in terms of what the neck, you know, how things came together, because it's like, this is my bastardized half-remembered version of the tutorial, and then this is the proper version of the tutorial. They don't sync up all that well, so it's a bit awkward. This is supposed to be textured properly, but I haven't got around to it. I need to go and install a add-on for it properly, but you know, it's pretty easy once you got at this point to go and texture the eyes properly. I'm not sure what's going on with the eyelashes. I'm not sure why they're got that strange effect on them. Maybe it's because they're a plane. If I go and select them, and extrude back, does that fix them? Not particularly. In fact, I think it just made them worse. I think it's faces. Where do you recalculate normals again? Oh, I'm breaking stuff. Recalculate inside. What does that do? Let's have a muchness. Okay. I think I've just broken some of the shading here and there. I also properly learned some texture nodes, but the only way that I can get those to come up properly is by showcasing a couple of files that I don't really want to show off because they've got my name on them. So you're just going to have to trust me that there was a little more to the... Well, you can kind of see here a little bit of it. So it's like a color ramp. That's a fact. I don't really get how all of the shaders work. Tutorials aren't great at actually explaining them. They're just like, oh yeah, it's like this. And it's like, what does this look like, you know? Is what it is. But yeah, there we are. I was dismayed with it initially, like when I first got to like this point and started doing the hair and stuff. Now that the textures and the colors are on there, I'm a little happier with it. I mean, it's not great, but for a first complete character model, like a first character model that I've kind of taken all of the way, I think it's pretty good. Does not represent a year's worth of Blender practice though, so you can definitely see that I'm not someone who has made great use of their time in terms of practice. I have not. There's a whole thing about like practicing smarter and not harder. It turns out I've not been practicing particularly hard or particularly smart, because this is not something that you would expect a person a year into Blender to be making. I'd like to think that most people a year into Blender... Actually, I wouldn't like to think that. I'd like to think that I'm on track. But yeah, I think a lot of people who would genuinely like have any sort of career in 3D we're probably in a much better position at this point into their Blender journey. So it's a good thing that that's not something I'm looking at going into. I've got other... I'm in a different creative field. This is just something I'm doing for fun. So it's not too bad. I would like to do more of this on stream, but again, I don't have time for it at the moment. Maybe when I don't have to spend hours a day grinding on Phantasy Star II, I'll have more time to be doing stuff like this on stream. But for now, we're going to Phantasy Star II. I don't want to save anything. I haven't done anything. Right, give me a sec. I just need to set some stuff up. I'm going to close that. I'm going to stick there. I'm going to go at another web page and I'm going to need to get a guide open. So hopefully this works. And it might be muted. Yeah, the head is a bit flat. Yeah, that's again a case where I was just half remembering what I was supposed to do, and obviously not great. You probably want to be following that a bit more closely. The head's obviously the most complicated part of the body. I find that hands are a lot easier in 3D than they are when trying to draw them, I find. Because, like, you know, the geometry's there. You can't really mess up with the proportions in the same way that you can with a when you're drawing it. If that makes sense. I'm not sure it does. But I find hands are a lot easier in 3D, but faces are a lot harder because there's just a lot of geometry and you've got to do it quite carefully in a way that you don't really need to worry about when drawing in the same way. But anyway, let's see. I need to shut off a window first. Yeah, right. Close that window. Open Sega Mega Drive and Genesis Classics, and should be good. Yeah, it might be muted initially because I play this while listening to different audio or different podcasts or whatever. I do tend to mute it, and I do it on the game level. Yeah, okay, it's muted. Go in here. I do it through the volume mixer on my PC rather than in game. Is that coming up? Yes, it is. Good. It's a bit loud though, so the audio settings in this are a bit awkward because they're, you know, like game by game. So I'm just going to do that in OBS. Have I turned it down to desktop audio properties? We do it by like minus... I do it by -10 on my episode. So if we go... Yeah, -10. There we are. One thing I do like about Phantasy Star II is that it's the first... It's the first one of these games on this that actually have a save system. So I'm not having to have these quick saves, which I find a bit unsightly. Maybe that's my video game snobbiness coming through. It should be a lot louder for me than it is for you guys. So if I start shouting, much louder than I need to be heard over the game audio, that is because you are listening to a significantly quieter game than I am. But yeah, we are in a decent position. We are... If you haven't kept up with the Phantasy Star II playthrough, I am making my way to Climate Troll, which is a big new area. It's kind of a turning point in the game. Looking at the guide, I'm not entirely sure, but I'd say it's either like a third of the way into the game or halfway into the game. I haven't played enough Phantasy Star II to really know exactly, but it's a big turning point. Problem is, it's a very big difficulty spike, so we need to do a lot of grinding, and especially, it's not so much levels at this point, it's we need to go and buy people loads and loads of stuff, and it's very expensive stuff at this point in the game. So if we go and look at our equipment, we need to buy Rolf something called the laser sword and the ceramic chestplate to upgrade his titanium chestplate and his laser knives. But because he's stuck in our party, we're going to keep him for last. Nay, I have already brought all the stuff that the guide recommends me to. The only thing you really need is the jeweled ribbon, her. Everything else you can kind of keep at the level they already are. So with laser bars and stuff. Hugh, I need to level up, and I need to buy him stuff. He's supposed to get the ceramic chestplate to replace the titanium chestplate he's currently got. And Kane needs to replace his titanium armor with ceramic armor, all of which is ridiculously expensive. We're talking like tens of thousands of the game's currency, which is called Meseta. It's a long and tedious slog. We've already brought the gear and leveled up a couple of characters, namely our healer Amy and one of our main attackers called Anna. But yeah, we're just going through our party and we're just getting them all prepared for the next step of the game. Right. Leave the hospital. And we need to grind in a specific place called Uzo Island. If you haven't watched the playthrough, I would, I'd kindly recommend you do so. Because, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to go and see what the JackalMan's up to playing? But we want to head over to a place called Uzo Island. Because that's where we find the enemies with the most money at this point in the game. The battle system in this game is a bit different to a typical one. Instead of having like each individual character do an action, you basically program your party to do a specific thing, and then until something comes up which affects that program, they'll do that every single turn. So until a character dies, gets a status effect, or runs out of TP, they will just default to whatever you program them to do over and over and over again. So Nay is also stuck in our party. We can't get her out. She's alright. These guys are attacking way more often than I would like them to. I don't know why they're so aggressive. They shouldn't be attacking this often. But hopefully that's them gone. Great. And now we need to go and heal everyone. At least Hugh levels up, I guess. Wonderful. I think they're quite a bit. Hugh is maybe a little bit behind at level 13, but Kane, yeah. We want to get up to about level 14 for the next dungeon. But now we have to go through. And we have to go and heal everyone up with Nay, who has the res ability. It's like, this is what happens after every single fight. You go and do this. You have to go and exit the menu every single time because the game doesn't let you use the ability multiple times at once. It's like, what is this? Who did this? Like, they even keep the menu up after you heal someone, as if they're intending for you to go and select someone else. But whether it's a programming error or whether it's a genuine game design, they were like, no, you have to go and heal them individually, one by one. And it's very tedious. Especially because the town we need to buy all of the loot we're currently looking for is quite far removed from Uzo Island. So it's a long trek through quite dangerous terrain to get there in the first place. And unfortunately, Kane and Hugh are not big damage dealers. So in our previous parties, we had a couple of big damage characters like Rudo, Anna, and Rolf and all the rest of it. But Hugh, unless he's using a technique, which we're not going to be using unless we need to, the only two damage dealers we really have in our party at the moment is Rolf and Nay, and they're not wonderful at that. They're pretty mediocre damage dealers. Like, Hugh's pretty bad. Kane's awful. And now we need to go and heal everyone again. You can see, hopefully, why this is quite tedious when you're doing this for thousands and thousands of Meseta. So we need something like 12,000 Meseta to go and get everything. We had about 4,000 when we started. We've barely got 1,500 in these fights, so it's a long and tedious road. At the very least, it's pretty quick to get all of your teammates at a similar level, if not to level them up, not to like push the frontier forward in terms of leveling up, but to get them to the level that you want them to be is pretty quick. Alright, we want you, because you're useless, to go and use Sargon, I think. Gifoy's not bad, but yeah. Sargon to attack every enemy. And then Rolf, you do have abilities that attack everyone, but they draw the damage out too much, so we just want you to be attacking normally, because it also keeps your TP up. Vortexes are pretty... okay, they're not actually too bad. Looks like they've got enough armor that they're not actually doing too much. Alright, down here. Continue along this way. Over this bridge. The one good thing is that we don't have to make the trek back. We only need to walk up to the island, and then we can teleport straight back to the town. Which makes things slightly less tedious than they would be otherwise. Come on, guys. Get over and done with. Right, this is our jet scooter. We got it a couple of episodes back in the Roron Junkyard. It lets us go over water like this. We just take it straight forward. There's a little cove on the island up there, and that's what we're aiming for. That's Uzo Island. Great, thanks, game. And again, if it's too loud, do tell me. I'm hearing it at a completely different volume to you guys. I honestly would almost rather play it muted, because I've heard all of these chiptunes so many times, it's gonna drive me bonkers. It's starting to drive me mad. There you go, heal yourself and Rolf. But yeah, I don't feel too bad playing many video games, but Phantasy Star II, it is a slog. It's such a slog. Oh wait, we want to stop because we want Q to use the Gifoy ability to do like any damage at all, because he's otherwise completely useless. The only one that we really need to hold the TP up on is Rolf, because he's got the teleport ability, but everyone else is just like waste it, you know. Do what you want to do. Foy is more TP efficient, however. And I think Kane has it as well. We've got a bunch of things set up for later enemies that haven't really appeared yet. So I don't really know what all his abilities do. Oh, great. There we are. 630 Meseta, we only need dozens of times that, like 20 of those encounters to get anywhere, to buy a single piece of item, single piece of gear, out of the dozens we need. It's a ridiculous slog. I will say it's surprising that Kane hasn't been hit once though. Okay, we'll heal Hugh and Rolf once more. I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to be at the island that much on this grinding trip, because we're already running out of TP on Nade's behalf. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, you just end up going up the stairs, circling around to this bottom area, and just waiting for enemies to come to you. And what always ends up happening is that when you're going through the dungeon, you get really difficult enemies that give you a ton of experience and a ton of Meseta. And then as soon as you actually come in here, intentionally, with the intent of grinding, in which case you need lots of dangerous enemies and to drop the money and the experience, they all suddenly disappear, and they're replaced with really basic enemies that do basically nothing. That's good on Kane's behalf. But yeah, it's a bit annoying, because you basically have to heal everyone after every fight. You don't actually get to stay at the island for that long before you have to go back, heal up and buy stuff at the hospital properly and come back. Because I haven't found any items yet that give you TP. There's plenty of items that give you your MP, your HP back, but your TP, which lets you use spells, no, they seem to be a lot rarer. Right, Sargon, get rid of them all. Probably excessive, because I think we'll probably have more or less dealt with them by the time that they get an attack out. Yep, definitely excessive. Wasn't actually that useful. You do want enemies that... Oh, no, wrong button. That was the D-pad, I meant to just use the normal stick. Alright, once more on Nate. But yeah, Phantasy Star II, being old as it is, it's just, there's a load of quality of life features that you come to just expect in JRPGs, and they're just not here. And it makes for a very tedious, repetitive, boring game, you know? Like, I want to have the ability to heal my characters efficiently. You know, like go into a menu and just heal all of them at once instead of having to close the menu and do it over and over and over again. I want the ability to, like, speed up the grind somehow, but there just isn't. Like, this is the most profitable place to grind at this point in the game. And you can see how slow it is. Actually needs the healing. Great, everyone does. Like, they don't give you that much money, but at the same time they do so much damage that you're still wasting time healing after every fight. And you could go and just grind outside the town and it would be a lot easier, but then none of them drop any money, so you're just kind of stuck here. Right, one more fight. And then we head back to the village. I'll be honest, I thought that this would make things a bit better, but I think I'm just going to end up boring both of us. So both myself and you guys, the viewers, if I keep doing this. So I think that this was an idea that I might just drop, because this is not working, I can tell already. It's now, instead of just one person being bored, it's loads more. So I think we're just gonna... I'm gonna head back to town. I'll show you some of the stuff it's expecting me to buy with this ridiculously slow progression, just so you can see the situation I find myself in. And then yeah, I'll call the stream there, because this isn't gonna work. I will be doing this with future streams to you know, like, I'll be doing the main story quests in episodes, and then in cases like big RPGs and stuff, I'll be doing side quests and stuff on stream. But I don't think it's worth it at this point in time. I don't think the Phantasy Star II is interesting enough to really pull through a stream. Right, let me go show you what it's expecting me to buy though. So, among other things, I need to go into this, and I need to go buy the laser cannon for 20,000 Meseta. I made maybe 5,000 Meseta in that trip, and I don't know how, because like that shouldn't have been as efficient as it was. But I made, yeah, it's a long and tedious grind. I need to buy a laser sword. I might do that now, actually, rather than save Rolf's level up right to the end. Apparently these are big upgrades, so maybe it'll be worth it. And I can actually, yeah, I will do that now, because it means I get to sell the laser knives and I get the money from that. And that should hopefully be enough to go and buy something else. Laser sword, we give it to Rolf. Yeah, even like equipping items is a bit tedious. Every character has their own individual inventory, and while they could have done something interesting with that, they just don't. Oh, yeah, okay, that's a big upgrade. The problem, of course, being now that it's a single attack rather than two that Rolf can do. The swords are two-handed, so you can only equip one weapon. But that was such a big damage upgrade that hopefully it should be well worth it. And yes, these are lots of money, so hopefully we sell that, both of them, and we might have enough money to buy an item in the armor store. Hopefully. So you heard me describe what we need to get everyone. Hopefully if we come here, we have enough to buy... No, we don't. So we've brought all of the ceramic... Okay, we need to buy another ceramic cape for a character called Sia. That's going to be crazy expensive. Do I? Actually, I might not, because I think I might have already brought the stuff. I'm not sure. I'll have to go check. But we need, you know, there's the ceramic armor that we need to buy both Kane... We need to buy Kane their ceramic armor for 11,700. Everyone else needs... Actually, if I sell Rolf's ceramic chestplate now, or his current chestplate, maybe that will be enough to get us over the line. Let's see, if it's over 10,000, that'll be good. Rolf, and if we sell our titanium chestplate, yes, okay, there we are. We are over the hump. Yeah, sometimes you realise you can just do something like that and it'll speed things up. But yeah, you just sometimes gotta do things out of order, which I'm not great at. I like a routine. Right, Rolf, there we are. Let's get Rolf's upgrades finished. As much as he has to stay in the party, he can hopefully be a bit more of a linchpin now, so that it's not going to be as long with everyone else. Ceramic chest plate, massive defense increase. Admittedly, coming from a character that had to have their defense piece removed to buy it, so that's not necessarily representative of the improvement, but is that? No, we're right. We're not. Again, I'm gonna cut off the stream after this because yeah, this is gonna be boring. I think I just need to do it with some music and a podcast and just, you know, get a little bit of education while I'm doing it. But I would like to quickly see how much damage this new laser sword does and how little damage Rolf takes, because yeah. But anyway, the blue guy, the one with blue hair, is the one that I'm trying to model. So that model you saw earlier in the stream is supposed to be this guy. You can see how it isn't the best translation of a character into 3D. But again, I'm happy with it. Obviously, I would have liked the model to turn out better. But it's, you know, you can always come back and improve at a later date. And it's helped me get some of that knowledge in me, you know, rather than just have to sit there and redo tutorials over and over again. Now I've got that in my mind. Should hopefully be faster. 32 is not great. The Fire Eyes were a pretty low tier enemy. We've seen much better than them at this point, so yeah, it's not great. There were only doing this much damage to characters that were actually fighting on a routine basis. 31's not great. But hopefully enough, you know, death by 1,000 cuts and all that, hopefully, do you think like? The bigger improvement is, I think, to the defense. You know, I would have needed to heal Rolf a lot more than I am going to after this fight beforehand. But yeah, no, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. But yeah, like now I only need to heal Rolf once, whereas before if you had taken that many hits, I probably would have been healing him 2 or 3 times from those enemies. But yeah, I had intended to do something with Phantasy Star II, but I can tell that it's not going to be happening. This is just not interesting enough of a game for that kind of pull. So, yeah. I'm going to call it quits there. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I think, seeing as it's been a while since the last one, there were various things. I didn't necessarily intend for there to be this big gap. I was going to cut out the modeling to fit in room to have like grinding sessions on stream, but yeah, this is too boring. So looks like the modeling is back on, you know, live on stream. And of course SRB2 as we continue to finish the character replay. That will continue. Next stream will be the other half of the Chaotix, so Vector Heavy, not Mighty, Vector Heavy and Bomb. And then yeah, modeling whatever we end up modeling. Maybe we'll do a little bit of design on there, just to like show you guys the stuff I do instead. Because again, the modeling's just a bit of a hobby at the moment. It's not what I actually do for a living. I'm a designer. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm just going to say thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream in one way or another. You hope, you know, at least one part of it, whether that was the model showcase, whether that was SRB2, whether that was the minimal amount of Phantasy Star II. But yeah, tune in next time. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you all for watching, but for now, adios and ciao.